how's it going? My name's Joe, and today, in anticipation of Alien Covenant coming out this weekend, I thought I'd make a video about the Alien franchise and my collection of Neca Alien action figures. Alright, so Alien Covenant is a sequel to Prometheus, which was a prequel to the original Alien movie. And I'm a little disappointed right off the bat because a while back I heard that Neil Blomkamp, the guy who made District 9, Elysium, and Chappie, was going to make a direct sequel to Aliens, the second movie, and that sequel is going to cancel out everything that happened in Alien 3 and Alien Resurrection, which I'm all for that. Now, there are aspects to Alien 3 and Alien Resurrection that are good, but by and large I don't care for those movies. In fact, I don't own a copy of either one of them. Now, I realize I'm in the minority here, but I really enjoyed Alien vs. Predator. I think it's really great. A lot of fun. Alien vs. Predator Requiem is complete dog shit. If you haven't seen it, don't waste your time. Prometheus, I think, was pretty disappointing also. It looks good, and the actors are all really good. Michael Fassbender especially is awesome. But the character motivations don't make any sense at all. It's totally ridiculous. So having said that, I'm still really looking forward to Alien Covenant. I'm planning on going to see it this weekend. I'm sure the special effects will be just fine. They got Michael Fassbender back, Danny McBride's going to be in it, and Billy Crudup, and he's amazing. So I'm trying not to get my hopes up too high, but I am looking forward to it. I would still like to see Blomkamp or someone else take the reins and retcon out Alien 3 and 4. So my collection of Alien action figures is all characters from the first and second movies. And I think it's one of the rare instances where a sequel is just as good or better than the original. So grab something to drink, because this is going to be a long one. Here we go. Alright, so this is my first Alien figure. These are manufactured by a company called Neca that do a lot of toys based on movies and video games and stuff. And this is a pretty cool figure. This is from the original Alien movie. This is the, they call it the Big Chap, I think. And as far as I've been able to tell, the reason why they call him that is because that's what they called him on set when they were making the movie, I believe. Not 100% sure about that, but anyways, this figure's pretty cool. He's got lots of articulation and lots of really great sculpted details and stuff. He's got the inner mouth that pops out. Mine's really loose. Anyways, if you pick any of these Alien figures up, kind of watch out for that. And the jaw's hinged, so you can close the mouth. And he's got a ball socket neck, but and he gets really good range of motion out of it. But just watch out for these tubes here are connected to the back of the figure, so you don't want to break those off. Also, on all these Alien figures, they have, his head's a little loose there, but anyways, they have this this spike right here that's removable, and I think that it's for posability, so you can remove the spike if it's getting in the way of you're being able to pose the figure. And I've never been able to get one in real tight unless I heat it up with a hairdryer or something, but you can see it just plugs right in like that. Comes out pretty easily, so watch out for that. If you buy one loose on eBay, make sure that it comes complete with that. Let's see, they've got ball socket shoulders. They don't get a whole lot of range of motion. They've got a really ugly cut joint there that breaks up the sculpting on the shoulder. They've got a ball socket elbow, which is similar to a lot of import figures that I have. And they've got ball socket wrists. And I think the hands are the same on both sides. I've looked at them pretty closely, and this one's a little warped or whatever from the packaging, but the hands look really similar as far as sculpting goes. They've got this torso joint right here, really good range of motion, and then this part, the lower torso or abdomen, this is made out of a kind of a softer, flexible plastic to so as not to hinder the articulation. They have ball socket
hips with a really nice swivel right there, like built in so you can barely see it. So I like that a lot. We've got double jointed knees, pretty good range of motion. These alien figures also have ball socket ankles, but I've never really been able to get very much motion out of any of them. In fact, I've broken a couple of ankles on a couple different alien figures that I have. This one's not broken, but I had to glue a couple of them back. So really not much motion there. I get a little bit of swivel right there on both feet, but like no up and down and no ankle pivot or ankle rocker, I guess. So they also have a toe joint like that. Works pretty good. And the tails on these are posable. They have a bendy wire in them, and unfortunately the bendy wire, you can tell where the wire ends inside, because I think all of my alien figures are kind of like that, where it looks like the tip of their tail is broken. But anyways, the tail helps a lot so that you can get the figure to stand up. Alright, so here's the Xenomorph from Aliens from the second movie, and he's got, I think, a little bit in common with the big Chap figure. He's got, I think, from the neck, the torso, the abdomen there, and these hoses on the back and his tail are the same, and everything else is unique. The head, obviously you can tell it's got the ridges there instead of the smooth dome. He's still got the opening jaw. His is a little bit tighter, and yeah, I can't get that second one out, but you get the drift. Anyways, he's got ball socket shoulders. His arms are completely different from the big Chap figure, and his forearms are have this fin on it or whatever, and I really like his articulation too. You can get really good range of motion out of that elbow. It's like a double ball socket joint there. That's really cool. And he's got a ball socket at the wrist there, and it swivels around. The torso is exactly the same. The legs work exactly the same. His are hidden really well. And his legs are completely different. Different sculpting there. And it might be easier to see on this figure than on the big Chap figure, because he's so dark colored. And this one has a little bit of blue highlight dry brushed over the top of him. But anyways, double jointed knees again. And his feet are a lot different from the big Chap, but the ankle still has the same problem. I can get a swivel out of it, but really no pivot at all, and no back and forth like this, unfortunately. So anyways, he's got a really good toe joint, and that helps a lot getting him to pose. That works pretty well. So anyways, I really like this one a lot. He's real creepy, and the blue tint to him really makes him look like the alien Xenomorphs from Aliens. Alright, so this figure is basically the same exact figure as the big Chap that I just showed you a minute ago. The only difference being that instead of the half transparent, frosted dome here, so you can see the kind of like the skull eyes and the shape of his head or whatever, the paint detail underneath. This one's just solid black, and it's really glossy and looks really wet. And that's one of the things I like about these alien figures, is that they're, typically on a superhero figure or something like that, you don't want them to be real glossy and shiny looking. But these aliens, it works out really good, because they always look wet and slimy. And this figure came in a 2-pack with a Predator. It was like one of the homage to Kenner 2-packs or whatever. I think it was a Toys R Us exclusive. And anyways, I really like this one a lot, simply because this solid glossy black dome. Alright, this Xenomorph is I think from a video game called Alien Isolation. And I've never played the video game. I actually have heard that it's not that great, but I don't know for sure. I'm not a big video game guy, but you know, it's just kind of cool. I like this this brown you know, paint shading that they've done, like a dry brush over the black figure. I think it looks really, really sharp. It's showing up on the camera really, really well. So, but he's exactly the same figure as the blue Xenomorph alien from the second movie. It just has a different paint detail on him, but I think he really looks great. I love this one, just because of the kind of metallic-y bronze, you know, dry brush effect. So really cool, creepy looking alien dude. And while I'm talking about aliens, this is not one that I have in my collection like on display, but this is the alien figure, the battle damaged alien that came with my Corporal Hicks figure. And basically, I wouldn't have bought this on its own. Like, it's really cool, but you know, I just don't have space for a million alien figures. But basically, I just bought this because it was in a 2-pack with Hicks, and then I didn't already have Hicks. Like, the single carded version of him was going for more than I wanted to spend on eBay, and I got this 2-pack for like $20 at Hastings, like on clearance one time. So, but he's really cool. He's basically the exact same figure as this blue Xenomorph and this brown tinted Xenomorph over here, and basically the same figure, same kind of paint job as the first one here, except that he's got this battle damaged head where it looks like the top of his head is flying off, and it's really cool. The sculpted detail on there is really neat. I like that a lot. But just right now I don't have him on display. I don't know if I ever will, but he's cool for taking photos and stuff. Alright, this is the first human figure that I bought from the Alien franchise. This is obviously Ellen Ripley from Alien, the original movie. Pretty good likeness to Sigourney Weaver, I think. Really like this figure a lot. She's kind of plain, you know, not super exciting as far as an action figure goes, but let's see here. She's got this is the same on both sides, but I'll just do this one. She's got ball socket shoulders, ball socket elbows there, and looks like a ball socket wrist. Her head gets a little bit of back and forth, but that's about it because of her hair is a little too rigid. But they could have made it out of softer material, I guess. But I mean, I don't know. It's not something I pretty much just pose my figure once and get them in a pose that I like, and then I'm usually done after that. Like, I don't go back over and over and over again and pose them and repose them, and I don't really do any ACBA or anything similar to that. I do like to take pictures of some of my figures occasionally, but anyhow, she's got this hip joint here is kind of weak. Like, you don't get a lot of motion out of it. It's a fine line between looking like the movie and being functional. And I think a lot of these figures, they're trying to look more like the movie, make it more accurate, and they sacrifice the functionality of the joints a little bit. And she's got ball socket knees that twist around also. There's a little bit of thigh swivel there for you. She's got better range of motion than the alien figures do in her ankles. So that's pretty cool. And basically, you know, for my purposes, all I care about is getting her in a pose where she can hold the flamethrower like she did in the movie and look like a badass. So that's all I need her to do. Also, she came with Jonesy the Cat, and there's another version of Jonesy. I don't know, I can't remember what figure that came with, but that where he looks like he's scared or hissing or whatever. But this is just like kind of neutral Jonesy, and he's got a ball socket head and swivel tail or ball socket tail. And the detail on this figure is really, really great. She's got the Nostromo patches on each shoulder. Those are really nice and clean. Her rifle, or I mean flamethrower, excuse me, is really, really nice. That looks great. It's super cool. And especially, I've always noticed her feet are really great too. Her shoes, all the little sculpted detail and stuff, and the paint wash or dry brushing effect on that really brings out all the detail. So you know, I think this Ripley figure looks great. I really like this one a lot. Alright, so this is a Screaming Head version of Corporal Hicks. This is the one that came in a 2-pack. Basically, I would prefer the more neutral face sculpt, but when I started collecting these alien figures, that figure wasn't available anymore on a single card. He was going for a lot of money on the secondary market, and I found this figure in the 2-pack with a battle-damaged alien for $20, I think, at Hastings a few years ago, 2 or 3 years ago. So that was kind of a no-brainer. This figure has been reissued recently in a 2-pack with Hudson, you know, Bill Paxton's character, who's like, "Game over, man." And that 2-pack would be great if you were just starting a collection, because then you get those 2 important Marines, and it also comes with the screaming head like this, and it comes with a neutral head sculpt also for both figures. So if you don't have this and you're interested in it, then go to Toys R Us. I think it might be a Toys R Us exclusive, and try and look for that, or buy it online. This figure is pretty nice. Unfortunately, it looks like they sculpted the hair, the flat top or whatever, and then glued the helmet on, so the helmet looks like it sits a little high. But anyways, he's got really, really nice range of motion in his neck there. He's got ball socket shoulders that work really well. He's got a swivel at the bicep there, and he's got a ball socket elbow, but mine just, it's real stiff, and I'm scared to break these NECA figures. But I think that he would have a swivel there if I got the hair dryer out, or if he was working correctly. He's got a swivel and a pivot at the wrist. And he's got a really, really nice torso joint, diaphragm joint. Really good range of motion there. His hip joints are really well hidden by his pads here, but he's got ball socket hips, and there's a little bit of a thigh swivel built in there that works really, really well. He's got double hinge knees that work pretty good, and this figure might have one of the better ankle rockers or ankle pivots of any NECA figure that I have. This was really effective, and it's not loose at all either. Like it stays where you put it, and he stands really, really well because of it. But it's a lot of range of motion there for an ankle joint. Also, he's got a little toe hinge there. Alright, this Hicks figure comes with a lot of really cool detail and sculpting, and lots of really, really cool gear. He's got a little knife sheath there. He's got some ammunition. He's got all these little things on his belt, all this equipment. This is a removable piece. It's been probably a year or so since I watched Aliens. I don't really remember what that's supposed to be. But he's got this flashlight on his back. It's not articulated, and I think it's removable, but he's got all this really cool detail, lifer. He's got the heart painted on his chest, and really, really cool. I like all these little straps and things, and just the paint and sculpted detail on this figure is outstanding. I think the 2-pack version that comes with Hudson, I think the figure is, the flesh tone parts are actually cast in a flesh tone plastic, and that's better than this painted plastic. It looks a lot more natural. Aside from that, I'm really pretty happy with this figure. Okay, so Hicks also comes with this scanning device that they use to track the aliens, almost like radar. and you can see the little screen there. It's actually a sticker, the inside there. But this has got some really nice sculpted and painted detail on it. I think it's pretty cool. It looks just like I remember from the movie. And it has this flexible strap that you can use to store it on the figures. And also, it wouldn't be Corporal Hicks without his shotgun. This has some pretty nice sculpted and painted detail also. You can see it's got the wrapping there on the grip. And I like this a lot, but I don't display my figure with it because it looks so dinky in his hand compared to the pulse rifle. I think the rifle looks much more menacing. This also comes with a scabbard, a working scabbard that has some really nice painted and sculpted details. Got a really nice wash on it. Looks pretty realistic. And the shotgun fits right in, nice and snug, and this actually snaps closed. So that works pretty well. It's got a little strap on it, and I don't display this with a figure either because I'm worried that this strap's going to break. And so finally, this is the Ripley figure from Aliens, and I got an ulcer looking for this figure, basically. There's not a whole lot of places around here that carry NECA figures at all. Toys R Us is pretty much the only game in town, and you know, I've probably bitched about Toys R Us before on this channel. I'm sure I will bitch about Toys R Us again in the future, but it's just, if you don't get there at the right time, you miss out, and they might never ever restock stuff like this. And so it was a real pain in the ass driving there all the time to try and find this figure. But I'm really happy that I got her finally. I think it's pretty good likeness to Sigourney Weaver. You know, about as close as they're gonna get. Diamond did those Ghostbusters figures, and they didn't even come close. You can't even tell that it's supposed to be her at all. It looks terrible. Their Dana Barrett figure. But NECA's doing a pretty good job, I think. She's got the rifle that has the flamethrower taped to it. I think that's really cool. I like that detail a lot. Alright, so for Ripley's articulation, she has a ball socket head, and unfortunately not a ton of movement. She's got some, can't really look up too much. She can look down a little bit, side to side of course, and she can cock her head a little bit. She's got ball socket shoulders, but these are really stuck, and I don't want to force them because I'm scared that she might break. That's one of the problems with NECA figures, is that the plastic a lot of times is pretty brittle, and unfortunately they're not as posable. It looks like she would have a bicep swivel right here, but she doesn't. She does have a elbow joint right here that hinges and swivels, and then she's got a ball socket wrist, and there's not a whole lot of movement there either. Alright, she's also got a ball socket torso, or a diaphragm joint right here. Gets a little bit of range of motion. She's wearing her pants up really high, unfortunately, but it is accurate to the movie. And this part is really soft, flexible. Oh boy, it looks really bad when you turn her around. But this is real soft, flexible plastic right here. It's pretty thin, and it's so that you can move her hips around a little bit more. And she gets pretty good range of motion out of her hips, despite this big blue diaper that she's wearing. And in fact, that's why when I pose her with the rifle, I always have it where she's holding it down real low, you know, down here instead of like up at her chest, to kind of cover that up so you don't notice it as much. But oh well. Like I said, I think it's screen accurate. She's got single jointed knees. They work pretty well, probably as much as you need. And there's a little bit of swivel there also. And I really like her shoes a lot. These look great. They're so funky and weird and brightly colored. I guess they thought 80s fashion was going to stay that way forever. But she's got pretty nice motion in her ankles here. Better than most. This part here, this bandolier, is a separate piece. I think she's got really good painted detail. I think this is a little heavy-handed. Some of the sweat stains, I think, are a little bit too heavy, too thick, too dark maybe. But the detail on her, I think, is really, really nice. And the rifle is very cool with the flamethrower attached to it. And actually, this came apart right here, broke on me when I was trying to pose her one time, and it just snapped right out, and I was able to put it, put a little dab of glue on there and put it right back in, and I can't even tell now that it was ever broken. But that's what makes me nervous about using some of the accessories for Hicks. This figure was reissued a couple of times. She came in a 2-pack with Newt for like $40. I can't remember if that was a Toys R Us exclusive or not, but the head sculpt is completely different and looks nothing like Sigourney Weaver. They tried to make another head sculpt so that you didn't feel like you were buying the same figure again just to get Newt, who up to that point had only been released as a San Diego Comic-Con exclusive, and so she was going for buku bucks on the secondary market, just the Newt figure alone. And anyways, and so I guess to make you feel like you were getting a unique figure instead of just buying this one over again, they changed the head sculpt, but it looked terrible, so I didn't even consider buying that one. Also, this figure was reissued in the same colors as her outfit in the old Kenner Aliens line, the Colonial Marines or whatever. So she was like maroon, like her shirt was maroon, and she had a yellow bandana or something, but it was the same figure, but it just had a different paint scheme. Alright, so this Aliens Ellen Ripley figure, I don't know if I can really be objective about it. She's the centerpiece of my collection, but that's because of the character that's based on. I'm, really fond of Sigourney Weaver's character in Alien and Aliens, and I think that the third act in Aliens really cemented her as a badass action star. On a personal note, this figure was a real pain in the ass to find, and when I finally did get one, I was super happy. It felt like a pretty hard-fought victory. Alright, here are the Alien Egg Sacs, and I think these are really, really great accessories. These came in a carton, a cardboard carton of 6, and you got 3 of the closed ones, and you got 3 of the open ones. And these are like hollow plastic, and they don't have any detail on the bottom or anything, but just the paint detail and the sculpting on these look exactly like they did in the movie, and they just look really, again, just like the Aliens. They're really glossy, so it makes them look wet and slimy, and you can see the inside of that one. And basically the 3 unopened sacks are all exactly the same, and the 3 open sacks are all exactly the same. And they came with face huggers. Alright, so here's the face hugger that comes with these Alien Egg Sacs, and he's really cool. He's got a lot of really amazing sculpted detail on him. He's got a bendy tail. The plastic is a little too rigid to use it. I mean, like, you can bend it however you want, but just kind of be careful. Be gentle when you do that. But the plastic on his legs is pretty flexible, so you might have to heat it up or whatever. And I think you could probably, if you wanted to, heat this up with a hairdryer or put him in some boiling water, and then maybe you could put it on a figure's face and hold his legs closed, and maybe then it would look like he's attached to a character. But yes, and the inside looks like a vagina, so haha. The 6 egg sacs and the 3 face huggers cost the same amount as a regular figure. Alright, so this diorama display thing that I made is pretty simple. The floor is a piece of foam core board, and this texture on it is that shelf liner stuff. It's kind of rubbery, stretchy type soft foam almost, and it's to line the inside of drawers and shelves so things don't slide around in there when you open and close them. You can also use it for little cubby holes in your dashboard so your phone doesn't slide around. But anyways, so what I did was I bought a roll of that stuff, and I got this foam core board, and you want to, if you are going to spray foam core, you want to make sure that you tape off the edges of it because the styrofoam will melt when you spray paint it. So I taped off the edges with masking tape. I stretched this weird foam stuff over the top of it, stapled it on the bottom, and then I sprayed it with black spray paint to get this weird texture. I thought it would look good with my alien figures. The back here is this arch is a piece of foam core board that I glued all these weird straws and twisty ties and the guts from ink pens and all kinds of weird stuff, junk plastic and you know, little tubes and hoses from, you know, busted earbuds and just all kinds of junk plastic. And anyways, if you buy a lot of action figures and toys, then you wind up with millions of twisty ties. And so I wound them around bits of plastic and toothpicks and just anything, and glued them all together like this to get that biomechanical look that the alien environments have in the movies. And I glued them into this piece of foam core, and then I think I brushed on like a mixture of like school glue and that DAP stuff, the sheetrock patch, and to kind of fill in some of these gaps, you know. And so it looks a little gloppy in some spots, you know, but I think that looks cool. It adds to the effect. And after I was done with that, I hit it with some glossy spray paint so it would look wet or slimy, kind of like the alien figures do. And the inside here, this is another piece of foam core board. What I did was I spray painted it silver, and then I made a stencil out of cardstock that you use to store your comic books in, you know, or with in the poly bags. So I made a stencil out of that cardstock. I think that I did it a little too soon before the spray paint was entirely dry, because when I peeled it off, it took some of the silver paint with it, so then I had to use some acrylic silver to touch it up. But so it looks a little rough here and there, but I think that kind of adds to the effect, because, you know, all the stuff in the Aliens movies feels kind of lived in, like the universe is a little dilapidated, you know, all the ships and the environments that they're in. So I think that works pretty well. This stencil I just did with yellow acrylic paint, and it looked a little sloppy, so after I got done with that, then I, you know, just with a small brush, I touched up some little spots that looked bad. But anyways, and the reason I did the airlock thing on there was because, you know, in Alien and Aliens, that it seems like the airlock is how they defeated the alien, you know, like that's the alien's kryptonite, is an airlock where it gets sucked out into space. And even Alien Resurrection to a certain extent. Okay, so I put my alien figures in the back since they're so big, and they're essentially the same figure. So there's the big chap from Alien, and here's the Xenomorph from Aliens, the second one. Here's the other big chap from the 2-pack that came with the Predator figure. And here's the alien Xenomorph from Isolation. Alright, here's the Ellen Ripley figure from the original Alien movie. And I have some Neca figure stands, but I typically don't have trouble getting these guys to stand up. And I usually put Jonesy in between her legs like that to help him stand. And then also, you know, maybe he's like brushing himself against her leg like cats do sometimes. Alright, and I put Corporal Hicks over on this side. Alright, and here I put the Egg Sacs here, and here, and one of the face huggers climbing on an unopened egg sac. Okay, also, I bought, this is not manufactured by Neca, but I bought these, I think they're manufactured by Bandai, but I think they're called Tamashii Nations, like flame effects or fire effects. And I've never seen them in stores. I bought mine online, and I really like these a lot. I think these are really, really cool to recreate the scene where Ripley sets fire to all the alien egg sacs before she has the final battle with the queen alien at the end of the second movie. Here's another egg sac there. And another really cool thing about these Tamashii Nation's fire effects is that they come with a few smaller pieces like this that have little cutout sections, and you can put these on an action figure's wrist or something like that. It would work really good for like Human Torch or characters like that, fire wielders. But anyways, they also clip on to the edge of these open egg sacs, just like that. So I think that's really cool, and that's how I like to display mine. Like, those are some egg sacs that she's already set on fire. Alright, and the last two egg sacs, I like to put those in front, and with the flame effects attached to the edges there. And I've got face huggers look like they're leaping from the flaming egg sacs. I think that's pretty cool. Alright, then finally the centerpiece of my alien figure collection is the Aliens Ripley. And this is my favorite version of the character. I think Aliens is my favorite movie in the franchise by far. And there's another one of those flame effects, and you can see I can clip that on. It doesn't hang real tight, it just kind of hangs there. But I think it looks fairly convincing that she's using the flamethrower to torch the sacs. I like that a lot. Alright, so there you have it. There's my Aliens action figure collection. I've actually designed this diorama, backdrop, display or whatever to fit inside my Detolf cabinet. So I measured the inside of the cabinet and made sure that the pieces would all fit in there. And I think I'm pretty much done with Aliens, unless Alien Covenant really knocks my socks off and I feel compelled to buy merchandise from that movie also. I think I'm pretty much done. I'm pretty happy with the way this collection is. It's pretty small and simple, but I don't really feel compelled to buy all the characters in their Nostromo spacesuits and the disemboweled version of Bishop and things like that. I like those characters, but just don't feel the need to buy figures based on them. So, anyways, I'm pretty happy with the way this turned out. I'm a big Aliens fan, and I think this is a pretty cool display for my collection.